Welcome into the Gator Report. As usual, joined by Coach Goodspeed. We didn't get the chance to talk to you about the Kickoff Classic, so
Talk a little bit about that one.
yeah, let's get into that a little bit. I mean, it was only 3/4 of varsity, right? It's a Kickoff Classic. Coaches use that in different ways, like trying things out, looking at personnel and maybe what they want to do from a choice standpoint on some final positions and that sort of thing. But you want to win the game, right? So just tell us about your.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great trip. Obviously, the stadium was amazing.
Oh, it's crazy.
It was beautiful there. Great staff over there. They were very hospitable to us. It was, they welcomed us. It was a nice trip. A couple lightning delays, but ultimately we got onto the field. I mean, they had a couple dudes on their team, the running back, the receiver, the quarterback could move, and I thought we played well. We only played starters coming out of the locker room after halftime, and then we started rolling some guys. Going into half, we were up three, something like that.
Yeah.
And then they hit two big plays on us, and that kind of flipped everything. And then the JV got a chance to get on the field in the fourth quarter. Yep. Funny, because it was the first time they were on a Friday night late scenario in a stadium like that. So you can tell some nerves, but they did a good job. I think we had a block punt, we had their turnover, and then they drove down the field and scored. Ultimately went for two just to keep upping things.
Yep.
So overall, a really good trip. We got some good film on it, and worked a lot of our concepts and stuff like that. So it was good. And like you said, everybody does different things in the preseason.
Right.
My background and what I believe is just you want to win the football game, you always do, but you also want to see where it can be improved. Obviously, from golf to the villages, we've had an issue with kickoff coverage. Golf returned one in the spring, and then the villages right off the jump returned one.
Yeah, first play, right?
And we tried a different thing, and it didn't work. And so now we tried another different thing, and I think having that kind of film, put us in a position so we wouldn't have those kickoff return issues, hopefully. Which segues into this game, right? It was much better. Special teams were, we need special teams to be a commodity. You want to win that phase of the football game.
Yeah.
So better. So that's what we use that tool as.
Yeah.
Get out and see some different competition.
Well, I think aside from that kickoff return in the beginning of the kickoff classic, the special teams performed pretty well. Otherwise, I mean, you mentioned the block punt and then it turned into a touchdown. Right? It was right; they were backed up against the end zone or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I thought special teams did pretty well in that first game. That team is historically, I think last year they averaged about 40 points per game. They have 25 seniors or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
very experienced team.
Hugely.
And like I said, the Florida, I think the University of Florida was there looking at their running back, because obviously he's a good player.
Yeah.
I mean, he was tough to bring down, but it shows where we can get better at tackling. I mean, let's tackle those athletes.
Yeah.
And I think that was Coach Hendrick's point, that we were in position, we just didn't finish on those things.
Right.
And to be able to do what we did in that game, I think it was a positive.
Well, let's get into the Newsome Wolves
Yes.
last night. So overall score, 31-24, came up short, but what an exciting finish. Had a chance at the end there. Ball goes into the end zone. We had a chance to tie it up, but in the final 1.1 seconds was left on the clock before that play kicked off. So exciting finish for all the fans, all the student body, faculty, and all that. I think
the first thing you start off with is our atmosphere. I mean, the stands, when I looked up there, they were packed. Right?
Yeah.
Good student section. When we walked through going into halftime, I mean, all the students were out, so I appreciate that, and I hope they keep doing that, and the boys appreciate it, and it's what we've been trying to build here at Land O'Lakes.
Yeah, somebody else commented. So we have our main stadium seats, but we also have an auxiliary aluminum section closer to the locker rooms.
Yeah.
There was a ton of people in that section for this game last night, which we don't normally see. We see a few occasionally, right? But that section was filled up as well. So
and it's because it was an out of county team. Sometimes in the past, even all the schools out here, even at River Ridge, like they wouldn't, a lot of fans would come out to because they don't know that team. But I think it's a tribute to what the school's doing with the spirit side of things. What we've been doing in the community and what the boys have been doing in the community. So, I love it. That's what high school football is all about.
Sure. All right, let's get into just
The nuts and bolts.
Yeah, let's talk about the game from the stats perspective. I don't know how many offensive possessions we had. I had my scorekeeper up there last night, but we did have about 315 yards of offense, which is good amount. I'm sure you'd like to see more, but
yeah, we want to be around the 370, 400 and float in that area. So good to a point. We got to finish some drives. Then when you talk about that, you talk about possessions. We did turn the ball over 3 times.
Yeah.
They turned the ball over 2 times, right? So ultimately, you lose the possession battle.
Yep.
And to me, that's the number one stat you look at.
Sure
turnovers.
is. Yeah.
And I think that's equates to how many games you win and lose, that turnover battle. So we definitely have to be better at protecting the football. But I think the highlights of the game was Eli running the football, which tails into the offensive line blocking.
Right.
That was a very good performance by the offensive line. They take this mantra of work every day and being physical, and it showed up on film.
Yeah, overall, pretty balanced offense. 108 passing yards I had, 134 in running. So pretty balanced, but
we try to stay balanced, but there are also some hidden yards that were in and out of hands of receivers or off target on the throws. So there could have been an opportunity for more. So that's the real frustrating part, because the position we put the players in, there were spots to be had open. Now, we thought they were going to be a cover 3 team. They came out cover 4, cover 2, cover 6.
Yeah.
But usually our concepts have answers, and we just didn't get the ball to where it needed to be.
Yeah. So overall, 4 TDs, 1 field goal. I think it was 37 yards. That was nice to see.
Yeah, that was nice to see. Ian getting back on track. I like that. He did a good job, with the PATs, with the field goal, and that kickoff.
Yep.
Put the ball where it needed to be, so our cover team could get down there.
Anything else you want to highlight on offense, or can we move over?
Like I said, I thought the offensive line did a really good job. Coach Johnson and the O-line, they've just been working. And you saw the physicality and the leadership come out in them. And I think that's, ultimately Eli gets his name called. And he does a great job, making cuts if there's a missed block or whatever it may be. But that offensive line is grinding for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And pass protection too. For the most part, I think we were clean. I think we had we may have had 1 sack potentially.
There might have. Yes, there was definitely a sack.
Well, there was a 1 sack in the
half.
first half, and then we were moving around with Luke in the pocket, and then he got sacked. So 2 sacks, but.
You know what? You talk about moving around in the pocket. I'll tell you that I saw something last night I hadn't seen a lot of in the past, which was impressive. Like, these guys were moving up in the pocket, and then you go back to your offensive line comment. They're creating a clean pocket. These guys are able to step past the pressure or step forward, and extend the plays and find open receivers. And that wasn't just once or twice. That was happening repeatedly.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And so when I first started talking with Luke, his first comment was like, "Well, what are our concepts we want to run?" And I said, "No, we're going to run protections first. You got to know where, if you're going to get hit, where the potential is going to be. A guy could get beat physically, that happens, but at least structurally, you got to know where it's coming from."
Right.
And part of that work is the quarterback's footwork, getting the depth, and then being able to hitch up and climb. You got to set, the guard set the depth of the pocket, and then the tackle set the width, right? So that all works in concert with the quarterback's drop, and nobody really talks much about that. but that's why it's kind of beating the NFL and the college level. Hey, if you're not where you're supposed to be, don't get mad at the tackle for getting beat because you didn't set him up for success. And that goes across the board. So I agree with you. I like seeing that. And then when it's time to go, pull the ball out and go.
Right. Defense. I mean, statistically, I think we had a couple of turnovers there.
Yeah, a couple turnovers. There was a nice one. Gabe Garcia came and hawked down the running back and punched the ball out. We didn't get on top of it, but I mean that's good to see because that's something we've been working on in practice.
Yep.
And it's good to see that come to life on film.
Yep.
I thought more consistently we were better on tackling overall from the week before, but there's still improvement.
Yeah. So in the kickoff classic, we gave up some big plays. We had Villages had 2 one-play drives.
Right.
Where they just break open the whole play. We took care of that last night.
And talking about the turnover battle, if you're -1, that ultimately is normally that's the determining factor in win close games, right? Because you've lost 3 possessions, but you lost 2. And the second part of that is explosive plays. The Villages had 2 explosive plays on us.
At least.
I'm trying to go back, the game kind of goes out of my head a little bit.
Yeah.
But those 2 really stick out to me
Yeah.
because those were one-play drives for touchdowns.
Yep.
And that's ultimately where that game flipped. I don't think, and I didn't note it because I was watching more of the position and technique and stuff last night. I was watching the film. They may have had 1 or 2 explosive plays, but we had that opportunity too. Run game in the pass game.
Yeah.
In the pass game, we had a few explosive plays, especially towards the end.
We could have had a couple more, but
Some
drop passes.
Some drop passes. Bad posturing by. You want to be friendly with your quarterback all the time, and we're just not in the spot that we need to be.
Yeah. One thing I thought was really good was we got backed up against the goal line a couple times, and we gave them 4 shots at the end zone, sometimes 5 or 6 with penalties and whatnot. I never called his name before. Ricardo Goody got himself into the backfield a couple of times. Another 40, he was making some tackles. That's a young kid, sophomore.
Yeah, sophomore. So, watching Varela in the during camp, you kind of look at future where they can be and develop, and we think he could be, really good. And so we gave him the opportunity on the field, and I think, it's the time-tested thing. When it's time for an opportunity, you go out and do it, right?
Yep.
You went out and did it.
Yep.
So obviously he'll be seeing some more playing time because he did a good job with it. Ricardo, he's new to us this year. I like a lot of his tools and attributes. I'm looking for consistency from him because I think he could be a dominating force with that line with AJ and Evan. But it's got to be consistent.
Yeah.
And because those 1 or 2 plays that pop off of you, it's obviously great. We love them. But consistency is going to be the key for him.
Sure. And then we got a couple guys that play both ways that they show up all the time, right?
Yeah.
Faria, and then
Danilo, outstanding job.
Yeah.
I mean, very solid tackler. Plays every special team. Pull him on offense when we have a chance, when he has some juice left in him. And he always has the juice, right? But we just want to be mindful of the snap count. But, I mean, that shows why. I mean, he has offers to colleges.
right.
He's just he's our guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, good kid. Who else are we going to talk about on there?
Tyree Jackson plays both ways
Yes,
too.
and
that kid had a matchup.
Well, yeah, for
his
sure.
kids,
Yeah.
he's guarding a guy 6'5", 1 point commit, right?
Yeah.
$175 this kid is, and I don't know what Jackson's height is, but it was definitely a mismatch.
It was a mismatch, but I mean, you're going to get that every now and again.
Sure.
But for Tyree, I mean, he's such a weapon for us on offense and defense. I mean, you got to drag that kid off the field. You know, he looks like he's hurt. Hey, you got to come off. Nope, not coming off, coach. And I love that attitude. He's just the blue collar kind of hard hat guy.
Yep.
You know, someone we're gonna be watching on Saturday for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we gonna go into special teams at all? You got any?
Yeah, special teams. I think they're consistently getting better. We saw an opportunity to fake a punt. We were backed up because of the block, and it was there. We just missed the throw. So we got to make those plays when they're available to us. And that was my point at the end of the team. When you're playing, you know, a good, solidly coached football team, which Newsome was. I mean, they don't do it flashy, but they're going to grind you to death with the single wing, and they're going to be very good at it. We've seen those before with the Willistons and all that stuff. And
right.
We knew the assignment coming into it. So when it's time for our guys to make a play, they got to make a play. And that was my big message at the end of the game. Now I felt like, what was the score count coming into half? I think we were down by 7 at the time, because the third quarter was the one that got away from us.
21-10 at half. I
Yeah,
should have
I
recorded it.
don't,
Sorry.
But you know, a point to where, you know, we lost a little juice on defense, and you know, in the heads we're starting to think, you know, what's happening, or you know.
Oh, you're talking about when you come out back from halftime, third quarter?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that was
little,
what's going on with these guys.
Exactly. Sluggish, you know, and that's been my point from this whole training camp and going into, you know, our practices, because we have pretty intense practices. And, you know, we got to match that all the time, every play, to the point where, you know, we're rolling some guys on defensive line to make sure they're fresh, you know, and at the receiver position. And so that was a little disappointing coming out.
And
Obviously, we started to struggle a little bit on offense because at one point we were up 10-7, and then we don't convert, and they go in for a score, and then, you know, it's going into halftime, and we say, hey, we'll fake it here. I think we have an opportunity, and you know, it was there. We just didn't make a play, and then they go down to score, and then it starts getting a little lopsided, and then we come out very flat, and you know, it starts getting a little bit ugly. So at that point, then I, you know, made the decision to go, let's see if we can create a spark. Let's put Luke in. Luke went in, and I mean, he did a great job. I mean,
yeah, he looked really good. I mean,
you know, the receivers made some plays. Tyree had an amazing catch and run on the sideline. You know, he made a nice move and got us more yak. Which, you know, then that kind of takes the run game, opens back up. So, I mean, as a play caller, you want to be consistent, and, you know, oh, they got a pass, they're down. Well, that's going to open up your run, and then we got a couple explosive plays from Eli. So, you know, when they fought, and then, you know, then it came down to a clock battle, managing your timeouts and making it there. And, you know, Danilo made a nice catch on the sideline, toe tapped it, got us into a possession here, a place that was throwable to the end zone. And everybody got up. We did mess up the alignment a little bit because they were trying to get into like a trips formation, and I'm telling them, everybody just get to the line. It doesn't matter how many guys are on the line or not. Just get there fast so we can spike the ball. Luckily, we got 1.1 second left on there. So that was, you know, I felt like the time management, I was like, okay, this is working out pretty good for us. We at least gave us an opportunity to take one last play into it.
No, and that's hats off to you and your staff, because that was them running all 4 downs, trying to eat up the clock. You had conserved 3 timeouts prior to their last drive, so you had all 3 of them. You managed it well. I think you got the ball back with 44 seconds left. You had a 70-yard drive to go. Right,
and the defense did their job, right? They backed them up and stopped them so then we could be in that position.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple spots in there we could have shaved a couple more seconds off of it, but, you know, hindsight's always 20/20 when it comes to that. But for us to have that extra 1.1 second to get one more play off and give ourselves a shot at it, and, you know, coming down to the last play, I mean, we had everything we wanted. I mean, obviously, we were going to play way off prevent defense.
Right.
And we got the guys back there, and, you know, the quarterback did what he was supposed to do, bide some time in the pocket, and then, I mean, he showed a very strong arm to get it to the end zone. And,
Yeah.
you know, it was there, he was going to come down with it.
Yeah, I think there was 3 or 4 Newsome players against two of our receivers, and you know everybody goes up, it's that jump ball, you know, Hail Mary scenario. But the ball did tip around, and it was so close. It was so close.
You know, watching the arc cut from it, you get some of the stands and you know some of the sidelines there, and you know, obviously you knew the outcome, but you know, I think. From my view, it looked like we had it. You know, I stand behind the offense so I could see what's going on. And, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, do we have it?
Right.
We had it. And, you know, everybody's putting their arms like this.
Yeah.
And like, man, we just missed it. So,
Yep.
a little bit too late. I mean, you know, I'm not taking anything away from Newsome. I thought, you know, like I said, they know what they are. They're well coached at it. I think they've been doing it for years.
Yep.
You know, and they fight ground, just like my message was to the team. You know, we just can't get sluggish in a period, even when one of the sides of the ball went off and started struggling a little bit. You know, and then there was a spark.
And I'll say, that's something very unusual. We don't normally see that. We've never seen Hendricks' defense sort of, and I don't want to say lay down, but there wasn't the juice. And we've always seen juice, regardless of the scoreboard, from his defense. But you could notice it from the box for sure coming back. That was very unusual. It didn't last long, but it definitely was something that we don't normally see.
You know, and that was my comment to the team at halftime. I said I felt like, you know, the defense stopped them in the first quarter or in the first possession. Then we get it and we move the ball, stopped ourselves. They come back and score. Then we get a turnover, we go score, then we drive down, Ian has that nice field goal. We feel like momentum's building, right?
Sure.
We're getting some more energy. And then they sapped it back out of us. And, you know, that momentum thing is a real thing. And then I think they really sucked the momentum from our team, and that's something we just need to get better at.
Sure. I got to name a press box player of the game. And, you know, I thought there's, you know, whatever I got here, there's 8 or 9 guys that had helped game. You can choose anybody, but
Well, you have to mention in that conversation Tyree,
yeah.
Danilo,
Yep.
Eli, you know,
Yep.
you know, a couple other names on there.
Yeah.
Those would be the ones that obviously you see the game in a different light, even in the press box.
Yeah.
But I would agree with those 3 or 4 names that we said there.
Yeah. So I think my gut was Melendez. I mean, you know, really strong game. You know, I think he was the only. I don't know anybody else ran the ball. So.
Oh no, he's gonna be our workhorse.
Yeah. So you got 134 yards, but we'd be remiss if we didn't.
He had 110. That's
Okay.
everybody rushing.
Okay.
I think it was 109 or 110.
Okay.
But 100-yard game.
Yeah, 100-yard game, but we'd be remiss if we didn't say, I mean, running backs don't get there without the 5 guys up front, right?
Agreed.
So if you go back and you watch the film, but I think Davies had a pretty good.
I think he did a great job. I mean, he was consistently violent, and that's what we asked him to be. One pull, he could knock down 2 guys. You know, I thought Nori played one of his better games from looking at film from last year to this year. He's doing a great job at left tackle. And I thought the one hole in his game was his physicality in the run from last year. And I think he stepped his game up on that. The same thing could be said about Grayson. You know, we always work with Grayson with his finish. And, you know, he's out there finishing guys. And we were displacing the line of scrimmage. You know, and the same thing with Tavo. Tavo plays both ways. And, you know, he's just a warrior. And another guy like Tyree, just a hard hat kind of guy who goes out and works.
Yeah, we called Tavo's name a couple of times last night, but for this first game, Coach, I think I'm gonna go Davies on the press box player of the week.
I think that's a good choice.
I mean, we're gonna have 10 of these, right, or at least, you know. So, but week 1, yeah, let's go with Davies. But before we wrap up, and I probably should have started with this, got to come out to the swamp on Thursday to watch our JV squad.
Yep.
And you know, they put up a game.
Yeah, so interesting. They get scheduled Sun Lake right off the jump. You know, you kind of like that a little bit later, kind of build some momentum just because of, you know, between the Butter Bowl and what they do. But
Right.
I don't make the JV schedule, so it is what it is.
Yep.
So it was their real first shot. And different than in past years, as the program grows, you know, now we have a full JV staff. You know, Coach Lewis, you know, obviously he helps us with running backs, does a great job. I mean, he's just turned into an amazing coach. I mean, just look what, you know, our running backs do. Eli is, you know, he's going to be very good.
Yeah.
So we give him an opportunity to be the head coach there. And then under him is Kevin Thornhill is the offense coordinator. Jimmy Twisdale is the defensive coordinator. Will Sloat is our O-line coach, and him and Steve work together very well. And then Anthony Kasperitis, I always say his name awfully, but yep. Yeah, and he's working at linebackers and just working overall onto the defensive side of the ball. And, you know, we want to give them an opportunity to, you know, run the team, manage it, and, you know, learn Hendrick's defense, learn our offense and what they're doing. And they did a great job with it. As far as players go, Mapes went out as quarterback.
Was that 15? Big kid.
He is. He has some height on him, has some length, throws a very nice deep ball.
What year is he? Freshman,
He's
right?
a freshman.
Yeah, big kid for a freshman. I mean, I thought, what is this guy doing on JV? This is huge. You know, he's got to be upperclassman. But I talked to Coach, and he said, no, he's a freshman. So.
Yeah, it did a really good job managing it, getting the ball where it needed to be. Like I said, he throws a nice football. And, you know, his thing is, you know, we just got to get those experience and reps and see different fronts and see how, you know, defenses are going to challenge him. I thought the line played fairly well. I mean, we have one sophomore on that line. The rest are freshmen. Oh, I take that back. We have two sophomores. And, you know, we're kind of, you know, prepping RJ for his future, as all of them.
Right.
But, you know, he's going to be a junior next year, so he's up on varsity, you know, for those emergencies right now.
How many guys do you have? So explain to maybe some of the newer parents or whatever. You get some X number of quarters.
Yeah, so you can either be a 4-2, like 4 quarters of JV, and then you can only get 2 in varsity, or you could be 2 in JV and then 4 in varsity. And the real challenge is that is obviously, you know, you want to have everybody around, but, you know, you also have a manageable sideline, right? Guys that are going to be in there, have a dog in the fight, and you want to make sure you see some of the guys, identify them so they get those Friday night experience. But you can't lose the reps on Thursday. They got to play football.
Right.
They got to be playing football. And if they earn that time, and, you know, they're in the 2 deep, they're going to get reps. I mean, we had an opportunity to spill the bench in the 4th quarter against Sun Lake and get as many guys spots as possible, you know. But ultimately, we're trying to win a football game.
Yeah.
And if you didn't earn it during the week, then you're not getting in. So I thought Davin did a good job. He's a receiver and a corner safety. You know, he did well. Jacoby did well, receiver. We got another good look at Valera at linebacker, and then that D line for them. I mean, we have some height, but again, they have to play football. You know, we can't just throw them to the fire. They gotta get those reps. So, looking for a good season for them.
I want to say something about that D line. I mean, I don't know about you, but at the end of the game, right, you have a chance to shut out the opposing team, and they're driving. I mean, they had like a 4-down goal line stance to defend, and you know. That means something if you're a defensive lineman. You know, keep them from scoring for the entire
Absolutely,
game.
and then to that point of the game, you know, into the 4th quarter, I mean, it was all the starters or 2 deep were going in, And then, you want to give some of the other guys some opportunity just to get that experience and get that hunger for it. So we're rolling a lot of young guys in there, and for them to be able to step up and finish that shutout was a big deal.
Yeah. All right. Well, next week's opponent.
Yep, we have Alonzo here at the Swamp.
Yeah. So Alonzo, they won their game pretty decisively, I believe, against Middleton, 45 to
I think it was off the name.
6.
I haven't seen the film yet.
But junior quarterback Michael Payne.
Pine.
Pine.
Yes. Yep.
He's got a pretty good pass percentage completion in 2025. I think he was over 62%. Had 11 touchdowns in the air, 8 more on the ground. They turned over a couple of players from some graduation. Went up, but they're, as we talked about at Planet Smoothie when we were there, this is probably the toughest non-county opponent that we'll face this year.
Agreed. We're going to have a great week of preparation for it. I think Pine's the real deal at quarterback. I haven't seen a ton of film on him, but just know in the area. It looks like they had an import of some players going in there at the skill position, so they're going to be loaded on skill. That's all I really know about them currently until we get into the cut-ups. But obviously it's going to be a good team and a good challenge.
Yeah. 6-4 last season, for what it's worth. I know the team changes all the time. They added a running back from Newsome who transferred over, and this kid had last year 665 yards, 5 TDs. They've got.
They sound balanced.
Yeah. They got a senior wide receiver as a playmaker for them, pretty good tight end and linebacker. They got a handful of guys that are real disruptions for the other teams. So we'll have our hands full. That one is home, right?
Yep, home 7:30 here at the Swamp.
All right. Well, I know. Appreciate your time on Saturdays. I know this. We've got a lot of other things that we can be doing, watching film and what have you, and preparing for next week. But it's always enjoyable to talk to you about what your thoughts on the game were, even if this super early. Saturdays right after Friday night. But really appreciate it, Coach, and we'll look forward to next home game here at the Swamp.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. You sounded great last night.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.